More than half of the world's population will go to sleep tonight, not because they want to, because they have to. Some will fall asleep on a sofa, some in a bed, some on a plane crossing an ocean, some while a storm rages outside. And somewhere, right now, someone is fighting desperately to stay awake. But have you ever stopped to think about how strange that really is? Every single human on Earth spends roughly 1/3 of their entire life unconscious, not working, not learning, not exploring, not experiencing the world, just lying there, doing nothing. Or at least, that's what it looks like. Which raises a fascinating question. What if nobody slept? Imagine that tonight, while you sleep, something changes. Tomorrow morning, every human being wakes up, and nobody ever feels tired again. Ever. No yawning, no exhaustion, no need for a pillow, no need for a bed, no need for sleep. At first, it sounds incredible. Think about it. The average person sleeps about 8 hours every night. That's roughly 1/3 of their life. If you live to 80 years old, you'll spend more than 26 years asleep. 26 years, gone. So if sleep suddenly disappeared, humanity would instantly gain an extra 8 hours every single day. Students could study longer. Workers could earn more money. Businesses could stay open around the clock. You could finally watch every show you've been putting off, read every book, learn every skill, travel more, live more. At least that's what it seems like. But before we imagine a world without sleep, we need to answer a more important question. Why do we sleep at all? Because when you really think about it, sleep makes almost no sense. Imagine you're one of our ancestors living 50,000 years ago. The sun sets. Darkness covers the landscape. Predators begin to move. And what do? Do you stay alert? Do you keep watch? Do you stay ready to defend yourself? No. You become unconscious. For hours, every night. If an alien biologist visited Earth, sleep might look like one of evolution's biggest mistakes. Every sleeping animal is vulnerable. A sleeping deer can't run. A sleeping bird can't fly. A sleeping human can't fight. Yet almost every complex animal on Earth sleeps. Lions sleep. Dogs sleep. Whales sleep. Birds sleep. Even tiny fruit flies sleep. Some animals sleep for a few hours. Others sleep for most of the day. But somehow, evolution keeps selecting for sleep. Which means sleep must be doing something incredibly important. Something so important that it outweighs the enormous risk of becoming unconscious. For decades, scientists have tried to solve this mystery, and surprisingly, we still don't have a complete answer. We know what sleep does, but we still don't fully understand why evolution created it in the first place. What we do know is that your brain behaves very differently when you're asleep. In fact, one of the most surprising discoveries came only recently. For years, scientists believed sleep was mostly about resting, but your brain isn't resting at all. It's busy, very busy. Imagine you've just finished a long day. You've spoken to people, learned new information, made decisions, experienced emotions, solved problems. Every one of those experiences leaves tiny traces inside your brain, and throughout the day, those traces begin to pile up. By night, your brain is cluttered with information. Sleep appears to be when your brain starts cleaning the house. Researchers discovered a network called the glymphatic system. Think of it as your brain's cleaning crew. While you sleep, fluid flows through the brain and helps remove waste products that build up during waking hours, including proteins associated with diseases like Alzheimer's. In other words, every night your brain takes out the trash. Now imagine what happens if nobody sleeps. Not tomorrow, not next week, never again. The brain's cleaning process disappears. Waste begins to accumulate, day after day, year after year, and suddenly that extra 8 hours doesn't seem like such a good deal. But that's only the beginning, because sleep doesn't just clean your brain, it also helps create your memories. Right now, you probably remember what happened yesterday. You remember conversations, places, faces, moments. But those memories weren't fully formed when they happened. They became stronger while you slept. Scientists believe sleep helps transfer information from short-term storage into long-term memory. It's one reason students who sleep after studying often perform better than students who stay awake all night. Your sleeping brain is still working. It's organizing, sorting, strengthening, connecting. Without sleep, memory begins to break down, and that leads to an uncomfortable possibility. A world without sleep might also become a world without lasting memories. And if memories begin to disappear, what happens to who we are? Because your memories aren't just information. They're your identity. They're the story you tell yourself about yourself. They're the reason you know who you are. And that means sleep might be doing something much bigger than simply helping you rest. It might be helping create the person you become. And if that's true, then removing sleep wouldn't just change society. It could change what it means to be human. Let's imagine it actually happens. Tomorrow morning, every human on Earth wakes up. Nobody feels tired, nobody yawns, nobody needs coffee, and nobody will ever need sleep again. At first, the world celebrates. News headlines call it the greatest biological breakthrough in history. Governments scramble to understand what's happened. Scientists are stunned, and ordinary people suddenly realize they've gained something priceless: time. 8 extra hours every day. The average person is awake for about 16 hours. Now they're awake for 24. Humanity has just increased its available time by 50%. It's as if everyone on Earth suddenly received an extra 20 or 30 years of life. Businesses never close. Factories run continuously. Airports become permanently active. Stock markets operate around the clock. Hospitals never slow down. Cities glow 24 hours a day. For a few months, it feels like a miracle. Productivity explodes. The economy surges. People learn new skills, start side businesses, travel more, work more, experience more. But then something strange starts happening. Because when humans gain more time, they don't necessarily become happier. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon for years. When people are given more free time, they often assume they'll become more fulfilled. But after basic needs are met, happiness doesn't increase nearly as much as expected. Instead, people simply fill the time. And in a world without sleep, there would suddenly be more time than anyone knows what to do with. Relationships begin to change. For most of human history, sleep has been one of the few experiences almost everyone shares. Families sleep. Couples sleep. Children sleep. Entire societies slow down together. Night creates a natural pause, a moment when life stops, but now that pause disappears. One partner stays busy all night. The other spends hours learning new skills. Someone else starts working 16-hour shifts because they can. Another person decides to spend every night gaming. Suddenly, people are no longer living on the same rhythm, and that rhythm matters more than we realize. Researchers have found that humans naturally synchronize with each other. We eat together, work together, celebrate together, and sleep together. Remove sleep, and society begins to fragment into different schedules, different lifestyles, different worlds. Some people become obsessed with productivity. Others use the extra hours for entertainment. Some devote themselves entirely to work. Others entirely to pleasure. For the first time in history, humanity stops sharing a common daily experience. And then another problem emerges: darkness. Because if nobody needs sleep, why go home at night? Why stop? For hundreds of thousands of years, nighttime meant rest. But now, night becomes just another part of the day. Cities remain crowded at 3 a.m., roads remain busy, restaurants remain open, construction continues. The world never switches off. At first, this sounds exciting, until people realize something. Humans weren't designed for endless activity. Even if we remove the need for sleep, we haven't removed the need for recovery. Athletes understand this. Muscles don't grow during exercise. They grow during recovery. Stress doesn't become harmless simply because you're awake longer. The human mind still needs space, still needs reflection, still needs quiet. And that's where things begin to get strange. Because one of the biggest casualties of a sleepless world wouldn't be productivity, it would be boredom. Now, boredom sounds like a bad thing. Most people hate being bored. We reach for our phones, turn on a video, find something to do, anything to avoid sitting alone with our thoughts. But boredom serves a purpose. Psychologists believe boredom pushes us toward creativity. Many breakthroughs happen when the mind is allowed to wander. Some of humanity's greatest ideas emerged during moments of quiet reflection, and for most people, those moments often happen before sleep. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, wondering, dreaming while still awake. In a world without sleep, those moments become increasingly rare. Every spare minute becomes another opportunity to consume information, watch content, work, scroll, stay busy. The world becomes more productive, but perhaps less reflective. And then we lose something even stranger: dreams. Because if nobody sleeps, nobody dreams. Think about that for a moment. Every story you've ever heard about dreams, every nightmare, every strange adventure inside the mind, every surreal image, gone, forever. Nobody has another dream, ever again. And while dreams often seem meaningless, scientists believe they may serve important functions. Some theories suggest dreams help process emotions. Others suggest they help consolidate memories. Some researchers think dreams may even help the brain simulate threats and prepare for future challenges. The truth is, we still don't fully understand dreams. But what we do know is that every human culture throughout history has been fascinated by them. Ancient Egyptians recorded dreams. Ancient Greeks interpreted dreams. Religions were shaped by dreams. Empires were influenced by dreams. Entire civilizations searched for meaning in the strange stories their sleeping minds created. Remove sleep, and you erase one of humanity's oldest experiences. No more dreaming, no more waking up and trying to remember what happened. No more bizarre worlds created by your own mind. It's difficult to imagine how much culture would disappear, but the strangest consequence may be psychological, because eventually people start asking a question nobody expected. What exactly are we doing with all this extra time? And that's when the real crisis begins. At first, humanity thought it had won. We gained 8 extra hours every day. We became more productive, more efficient, more active. We conquered one of life's greatest limitations, or so we thought. But years pass, then decades, and people begin to notice something they never expected. The world feels different. Not worse, not better, just different. Something is missing. For hundreds of thousands of years, every human who ever lived shared the same rhythm. Wake, work, rest, sleep, dream, repeat. Farmers lived by it. Kings lived by it. Soldiers lived by it. Scientists lived by it. Your parents lived by it. Your grandparents lived by it. Every ancestor you have ever had lived by it. And suddenly, that rhythm is gone. Humans are awake all the time. The world never pauses. The cities never become quiet. The roads never empty. The lights never go out. For the first time in history, humanity has escaped the cycle that shaped every civilization before it. And that's when researchers begin noticing another problem. People are forgetting how to reflect. Think about your own life. Some of your deepest thoughts probably happened when everything else stopped. Lying in bed at night, sitting quietly after a long day, watching the ceiling, thinking about your future, your mistakes, your relationships, your purpose. Sleep didn't just separate one day from the next. It created a boundary, a moment to process life itself. Without that boundary, days begin blending together. One endless stream of activity. One task followed by another. One distraction followed by another. People become experts at staying busy, but strangely, many feel less connected to their lives than ever before. Psychologists begin reporting something unusual. People have more time than any generation in history, yet many feel as though life is moving faster, not slower. How can that be? Because humans don't measure life in hours. We measure it in memories, and memories are built around meaningful moments, around transitions, around beginnings and endings. Sleep was one of the most important transitions we had. Every night, the story paused. Every morning, a new chapter began. Without sleep, the chapters disappear. Life becomes one long sentence. And eventually, people begin missing something they never thought they would: dreams. Not because dreams are useful, not because dreams make us productive, but because dreams were one of the few places left where the mind was completely free. Every night, for thousands of generations, humans entered a world that existed nowhere else. A world without rules, without physics, without logic. A world created entirely by the imagination. Artists found inspiration there. Scientists found ideas there. Writers found stories there. Ordinary people found meaning there, and now that world is gone. Forever. Children grow up having never experienced a dream. They read about dreams in history books the same way we read about extinct animals. Something humanity once knew, something humanity once experienced, something humanity lost. And that's when philosophers begin asking an uncomfortable question. If humans no longer sleep, are they still fully human? Because sleep wasn't just something we did, it shaped who we became. It shaped our culture, our stories, our religions, our creativity, even our understanding of life and death. For thousands of years, people have compared sleep to death. Every night we close our eyes, lose consciousness, disappear from the waking world, and then return. Ancient civilizations built myths around this experience. Some believed dreams were messages from the gods. Others believed they were journeys into another realm. Today we understand sleep scientifically, but perhaps we've lost sight of how strange it truly is. Every night, your conscious mind simply switches off, and every morning it comes back. You trust this process completely, yet it remains one of the most mysterious experiences in human existence. Which brings us back to the original question: what if nobody slept? At first, it sounds like the greatest gift imaginable. More time, more productivity, more life. But maybe sleep isn't stealing time from us. Maybe it's giving something back. Maybe sleep is the reason memories become meaningful. Maybe it's the reason emotions heal. Maybe it's the reason creativity exists. Maybe it's the reason our minds remain healthy. And maybe, just maybe, the fact that every complex animal on Earth sleeps isn't a flaw in evolution. It's one of evolution's greatest achievements, a solution so important that life itself couldn't survive without it. Tonight, billions of people will go to sleep, some willingly, some reluctantly, some wishing they had more hours in the day. But while they sleep, their brains will clean themselves, their memories will strengthen, their emotions will reorganize, their minds will dream, and tomorrow morning, they'll wake up and continue the same story that every human before them has lived for hundreds of thousands of years, a story built around days and nights, wakefulness and sleep, reality and dreams. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. The things that seem like weaknesses are sometimes the very things that make us human. Sleep looks like wasted time, but without it, we might gain more hours and lose a part of ourselves. Because in the end, the question isn't what would happen if nobody slept. The real question is this: what if sleep was never the problem? What if sleep was the reason humanity became what it is today? And what if, every night when you close your eyes, you're participating in one of the oldest and most important rituals in the history of life itself?